little disappointed that I didn't get something as epic as scaring a happy meal, but I'll take what I can get. Like Mr. Toastmaster said, I am Dominic Chevrati, and today I'm going to talk to you about the history of the Naval Postgraduate School. Now, many of you might be thinking, Dom, you've been here for a year and 9 months, you probably know it all. Did you really have to do a lot of research? And actually I did. I found that I didn't know as much as I think I did, and some of the things that I did learn were wrong. And hopefully you'll learn some new things today based on the research that I did. Start with where it all started. In the early 20th century, really the first decade of the 20th century, there was a lot of technological advancements. You had Marconi invented the wireless telegraph. Teddy Roosevelt's Great White Fleet had circumnavigated the globe by February 1909. And the Wright brothers, who could forget, were doing flight experiments in North Carolina. And the Navy wanted to capitalize on all these scientific developments, and they said, hey, what's the best way we can integrate these technologies into our military, into our fleet? And the way that they determined was best to do that was to create a graduate education institution, hence the Naval Postgraduate School. The only issue was, it sounded good on paper, but where were they going to put it? Nobody wanted to deal with the funding and the allocation of where they were going to house the students and the professors. The logical place was the U.S. Naval Academy, which was in Maryland. The only problem was that was the undergraduate institution, and the superintendent had his hands full enough with the midshipmen there as it was. He didn't want to have anybody else there. So it was a little bit of a struggle. He allocated 2 attic spaces for the first class of students. One was a lab, one was a classroom. There was 2 professors and 10 students in the first class of 1909. And over the course of the next several decades, that increased. By about 1950, they had 500 students and 100 instructors across all the services. So you had the Marine Corps, the Army, and the Coast Guard. The Air Force, remember, didn't begin until the National Security Act in 1947. So by the time 1950s came around, they realized after post-World War II there was a big continuous boom of technological improvements. They needed a new place to house the school. This one building, which they had originally had 2 attic spaces in, who would have thought was not adequate enough? They started a review board to find 25 places across the country and choose the best one of where they could house the Naval Postgraduate School. One of which was, well, it's not really a big punchline here, we know where it ended up, but one of which was Hotel Del Monte in Monterey. Now, one thing I learned, and I'm sure maybe some of the other MPS students learned, was it was Samuel F.B. Morse, who was the inventor of the Morse code, that owned the property. Well, it's not actually true. He died in 1880, so if you run the numbers on that, it doesn't add up. But it was his cousin had the same name, Samuel F.B. Morse, who was born in the 1880s. That's a fun fact. That's something that I learned. I felt kind of like I was used when I learned that fact. But Hotel Del Monte started off as, it was a luxurious resort for the rich and famous. You see a picture of Marilyn Monroe there. She performed in Herman Hall, which was then the hotel. A couple other fun facts. 17-mile drive was originally just a path from the resort here to Pebble Beach, which was then just an oceanside park. Also, the first golf course west of the Mississippi was the Del Monte Golf Course, which is still running today. It's one of the oldest continually operating golf courses in the United States. It's pretty interesting. Like I said, though, one of the difficult things for when they transitioned was they had to move across the entire country. So there was 500 students in Annapolis. They moved all of that stuff in 1951, 500 students, 100 faculty, all the books, all the scientific equipment, all the way here, and it's obviously progressed here as well. We have a lot more buildings than just the original Del Monte Hotel, which was really the center of it all. But over the last several decades, or really, I guess, 65 years or so, where have we progressed till today? And I'll tell you a little bit about what it has become. So from the 500 students that came here in 1951, it's about just under 3,000 students now, 10% of which are international. Students from Turkey, Greece, Singapore, Indonesia, a lot of the NATO countries, Canada, Germany. And there's about $180 million worth of outside funds for research being done today as we speak. Well, maybe not right now, it's It's 12:30, so maybe not right now, but being done in this general time frame. And there's been a lot of famous people educated here. There was the Princess of Jordan was educated here, several service chiefs, a Secretary of Energy, tens of astronauts, me and Tom. Should speak for itself, not to be too facetious. But it's really evolved into something that's become synonymous with a worldwide, global graduate educational institution that gives back to not only America, but to the international community. In conclusion, it started off as just a small school and a couple of attics in Annapolis. You'll see that's the first photo of a graduating class in 1913, 28 students, to now 2,800 students, about 100 times larger, about 800 faculty today. And it's on a beautiful resort property. I'd like to think that we've done pretty well. I don't mind being stationed in Monterey. But through my research, I found that it really is a historic place. There's a lot more going on here that meets the eye, and there's a hell of a lot more than what I've just presented today. So if you take it upon yourself to do more research, there's really a lot of interesting stuff out there. It does have a great past, but I would like to think that it has an even brighter future.
And I did it in his style. You're fired.
Huge, huge.
It worked. So excited to evaluate Dominic's speech today. Research your topic, number 7 from our manual. The objectives are 2. 1, to collect information about your topic from numerous sources, and 2, carefully support your points and opinions with specific facts, examples, and illustrations gathered through research. Those objectives were met perfectly in this assignment, and there's quite a few things that are necessary to also make this work well, one of which is, does this speaker's topic apply to our audience? And I have to say, being here, I guess going on 3 years now, definitely this is one of the most relevant topics, just applying to this specific guideline, I think. So I really did like his topic. It was perfect, definitely. Then the question, was it well researched? Well, yes, it was well researched. He distinguished between what's good information and what may have not quite been as good information. So he not only had to do research, but he had to differentiate the good research that he was getting from the stuff that's not working, the things that aren't working. How well did the speaker support his or her, well, his main points? Obviously, he supported them very well with a lot of facts that he gave us. The support material, and is the support material appropriate to the point made? Well, he was giving us, his point was obviously to tell us the history. So every bit of material did support that well. The slides were great. The facts were fun. Did the speaker vary the types of support material? Yes. How clear was the purpose? Well, the purpose, again, was to inform us, and we got, I think, quite an earful and a fun historical fact. It was effectively organized, and I kind of felt like the timing of the organization was sort of a proof in and of itself and I don't know, anyway. Just because of the way he went through that whole sequence kind of proved all that he was trying to say. And he used body language well. He wanted me to watch out for doing the professor move, and he didn't do it once. Very well. And then the vocal variety could have been a little bit more on the vocal variety, but he did use it, just could have been a little bit more. So what else could he have done a little bit better? Maybe the opening was fabulous. It started before we finished clapping. So I would definitely let our presenter sit down and then pause a second, give it just a second, and then launch into it. But great. Could have used a little bit more of the vocal variety. Other than that, I mean, it was great. I loved the opening, loved him using sequences, great pictures, loved how he named the list of attendees and included himself and Tom. The Morse code story was a wonderful addition, made us laugh, kind of brought us into the story, and then also using, he kind of threw in an additional historical facts, which I thought was just great. And then my favorite was at the end where he described it as a small school and a couple of attics to what it is now. So, well done, very proud to evaluate it, thank you.